Hey folks, Lenny Lawson here, The Car Guru. Welcome back. Well, wait a minute. I should welcome me back. I've been gone. I went to Las Vegas last week with my wife. We left on Monday, and the meeting that I was supposed to attend was a Ford National Dealer meeting, and it started on Wednesday. And I just decided to go out early because we could fly out on Allegiant for a very minimal amount, direct from Knoxville to Las Vegas. And we didn't really know what we were going to do for that time. We are not gamblers. The estimated temperature was going to be between 110 and 115 outside, so we probably weren't going to do a lot of walking around unless it was indoors. So we decided to do something outside of the box a little bit for a Las Vegas trip for us. We didn't stay in Las Vegas. We rented a vehicle there at the Wynn Hotel. We stayed at the Wynn, W-Y-N-N. It's right next to the Venetian, and in between the Wynn and the Venetian is part of the racetrack where they run the Formula One race there, if you know anything about car racing or Formula One. If you don't, sorry I brought it up, but it's cool for me being a car lover. So we rented a vehicle, and we drove past the Hoover Dam. We'd seen the Hoover Dam before, which is amazing. But I was disappointed that as you're driving on the new interstate, well, I don't guess it's that new, but the interstate bridge that goes across the Colorado River, the big gorge that where the dam is, that holds back Lake Mead, which is filled by the Colorado River. Anyway, geography lesson. I was disappointed we're going across the bridge. We couldn't look to our left and see the dam itself. They built these concrete walls up high enough, I guess, so a car wouldn't go off the edge looking at the dam. That must be the logical reason. But we had to drive about 2 hours and 15 minutes, according to GPS, to get to the northwestern side of the Grand Canyon. And I thought it would be worth it. Well, doggone it. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was a blessing, folks. I loved it. I'd never seen the Grand Canyon except flying over it. But it was amazing just driving outside of Las Vegas. And we got into this one valley, and it looked like 5 to 10 miles worth of solar panels. I've never seen anything like it. I said, honey, look at that. It goes as far as you could see. It was amazing. And then you see the windmills, tons of those. So I guess Las Vegas and surrounding areas gets their electricity from solar, wind, and the Hoover Dam, I would assume. But just the traveling out there was so cool because as we got higher in elevation, well, before we got to the higher elevations, we had to go through an Indian reservation. That was kind of sad. The living conditions, that is. I was just amazed or appalled, really, by it. But I don't know why it's that way. I guess because we stole their land, maybe. Who knows? But anyway, it was not good. And then as we climb in elevation, we see the Joshua trees. Now, I'd never seen a Joshua tree. We actually saw not only a tree, many trees, but a forest of those things. It's a relative of the yucca plant. My wife says, well, it's a succulent, kind of like a cactus, except not. So that was fascinating, and as we kept climbing and climbing, eventually they petered out, and then we're up on a plateau, and go a little bit further, and we're at the Grand Canyon, that particular end of it, which is controlled by an Indian tribe. I won't try to pronounce the name, Huapala'i or something like that. And that's where they have this amazing semicircular walking path that the surface that you're walking on is glass, and it goes out over top of the open space of the canyon. Now, I don't like heights, but that didn't bother me. People taking pictures and things like that. It was really pretty cool. But what did bother me a little bit was everywhere else that you went around there to look at the canyon, there's no barriers. There's no fences. Nothing. There's a sign. I take it back. There is a sign that says, stay back 5 feet. And I don't know why anybody would want to get any closer than that because it was intimidating. But it was beautiful. And I know many of you have probably been to the Grand Canyon, and some of you have been and say, okay, it's a big hole, let's go. But not me. I was just amazed at just how long did it take? Well, it took a long time, but how long did it take for the oceans to go away that covered that area to, I guess, work their way down into a river, and for that river to cut that canyon? And anyway, we can't answer that here today. We won't even attempt to. I was out there for the Ford meeting, got a lot of cool announcements to come. If you care anything about the automobile, these should matter to you as well, because the EV is not done. Ford has big plans. They're coming out with a little truck called the Fathom. It will be one of their new EVs. They didn't work out well with the Lightning, the F-150 EV, or the Mach-E, which was Mustang Mach-E was a failure too. Nobody wanted them. Well, they did at first, but then they didn't. While Tesla kept selling Model 3s and Model Ys and Model Xs, Ford and GM just failed miserably until they started putting monster rebates. And when the federal tax credit went away, that doomed all of them. And see, it was an affordability issue, and that's what Ford is tackling. This new Fathom, Fathom, yes, that's the name that they chose. Looks really good. It's an attractive little four-door truck, has seating for 5, has more interior room than a RAV4, Toyota RAV4. That's what they told us. And it has a range of 300 miles and will cost under $30,000, including destination charges. That's not bad. That's going to hit the market in a completely different place than most EVs have. Most long-range EVs have been significantly more expensive than that. And so this one is supposed to make a big difference because people will be able to afford the monthly payments on the thing. And I talked to a cousin of mine that came by to visit, and she lives in Seattle. And she said, we drive an EV. You know, gas is really expensive out here. It's perfect for our lifestyle and the way we drive. And so, you know, that's what we do. And she said, Lenny, everybody out here drives EVs. It's amazing. The whole West Coast is that way. The upper east, northeast of this country is really big in EVs too, just because a lot of them are very, very liberally minded, and they want to, well, they think they'll save the planet by driving an EV. But it doesn't work as well in the Northeast because of the cold climates and what that does to driving range. But that being said, EVs are here to stay, and Ford is attacking the market where it needs to be attacked, where people can afford to buy it, and then the savings on gasoline will be real. So Ford is taking this platform for the Fathom and going to use it on 5 other vehicles. Don't ask me what. I know one of them is going to be a small SUV. That's all I know. They did reveal the new 4-door Mustang that's coming out. Yep. No, it's not the Mach-E kind of a Mustang that really didn't look like a Mustang. Folks, this looks like a Mustang. It is a Mustang it's been stretched. It has big, swollen rear quarter panels over the rear wheels are really bulbous. It looks good, though. And 4 doors. So why are they building that, Lenny? Well, the Dodge Charger sells pretty good, even though it is a Dodge and is sold by Stellantis. It still sells pretty well. Usually driven by people with large muscles, I've noticed. A lot of people that drive Dodge Chargers are bodybuilders, people that work out a lot, and they like Harley Davidsons too. It's kind of a mindset. I don't know if the Mustang buyer will have those same type of demographics, but there's a lot of people out there that would love to own a Mustang, but it's not practical because it's 2 doors. And it has a ridiculously small back seat, not fit for human habitation. This one's not going to be that way. And another good thing about this four-door Mustang, it's going to start at under $40,000. And I hope they stick with that. And we'll go 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, which is extremely important to mothers wanting to take their youngsters to school. Be the first in line. So what else? Ford is going to be coming out with an all-new small SUV. See, what happened is they eliminated the Fusion, they eliminated the Focus, they eliminated the Fiesta, and they eliminated the EcoSport. That was a little SUV. All of these affordable vehicles went bye-bye. So Ford's going to try to make up with us. They got this little thing, about like a Nissan Kicks. Hyundai makes, real small SUVs. So this is going to be, like the Honda HR-V. Those will be the competitors for this new affordable SUV, and it looks really good. It's very boxy. It kind of looks a little bit like the Bronco Sport, which is, I think, is a great-looking vehicle. I like boxes. I'm not into real aerodynamic things unless they're sports cars. If it's an SUV, then boxy makes the most sense because it's comfortable for the passengers, and you can store a lot of stuff in it. So it's coming, and everything is going to be available with a gasoline engine or a hybrid. Ford has finally got the memo. We got to build hybrids to compete with all these other guys. Ford is number one in quality now, initial quality. It makes me real happy to be a Ford dealer. I went to this meeting, and I was still positive on my brand that I sell, but I am pumped now. Very excited. All right, I'm going to take my first break, and I'll be back here in just 1 minute. So one of the things I try to do on this program is talk about helpful scenarios, car dealer stuff, things that happen between consumers and car dealers. I was talking to my cousin, the same one I was talking about before I took the break. Lives in Seattle, and she said, "Lenny, I hate buying cars." Now, we haven't seen each other like face-to-face or even talked for at least, I would say, 15 years. But we love each other, and we have a lot of good history. But, she hasn't come to Greenville, Tennessee to buy a car because she lives in Seattle, Washington. But she was saying, why do cars have to be sold the way they're sold? And I said, I don't know. It started a long time ago, though. When certain people get into any business, I guess they can break the rules, and there's a lot of that goes on in the car business, and I wish it weren't that way as well. She said, but even at good dealers that we've done business with, it's just a difficult process. And I said, what's difficult about it? Negotiation. She doesn't like the negotiation process. I said, you need a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook. What's that? Well, you're going to get one. So we're sitting there eating lunch at Aubrey's, and I immediately pulled the file up and texted her the PDF, and I'll do that to you too. Get a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook. Negotiating with a car dealer will no longer be something that you fear. Send me your email address to 423-552-2020, or you can send me an email requesting it to lennylawson2020@gmail.com. It's free. So really the only measure that we have now to tell whether dealers are being honest and have a good reputation is look at their reputation scores. Now, for example, I'll just give you the ones for, my Ford dealership. Gateway Ford is 4.5 out of 5 as far as Google reviews, which is, I think, really good. The Carfax review, we are 4.9 out of 5 as far as Carfax ratings. As far as pricing transparency, there's a company called Car Edge gives Gateway an A grade at 97 out of 100 in their transparency score. The Better Business Bureau rates us as A+, BBB rating. All of this is publicly available information. I'm not making up these numbers. I'm just telling you I am bragging a little bit, but we work really hard at this. We want to make sure that our customers are happy. And if they're happy, maybe they'll come back and use us for service. And if we do a really good job there, maybe they'll buy another car from us. That's all we can hope for. If someone all of a sudden decides, well, I want a Lexus, or I want a Cadillac, or I want a Porsche, I don't blame them. Go out there and buy what you want. Make yourself happy. But if they want to buy another Ford or a Nissan or a nice used vehicle, I'd like them to put me at the top of their shopping list, and the only way they'll do that is if we live up to our promises, really exceed their expectations. Don't just meet them. If you just meet somebody's expectations, that's not really good enough. That's just average. I want to exceed them. So I look at some of my competition. Here's a Ford dealer that is a formidable competitor that has a 4.6 rating. Ours is 4.5. Here's one, though, that's a local Ford competitor of ours that has a 3.6 out of 5. I would want to go in and look at some of their reviews. I told you one of the best things to do on Google is go look at their bad reviews. Sort by, from the lowest score to the highest, and you'll see lots of times who they really are. If somebody's complaining, like you'll see some complaints maybe on mine that might say, well, they didn't get my tags to me fast enough, or it took too long to get into the finance office. On a busy day, that's going to happen. When we see those reviews, we apologize. We try to do what we can to make them happy, after the fact. But if you see one that says, it took us 3 months to get our tags, or that was the worst buying experience, they kept turning us over from one manager to another, we felt a lot of pressure, that kind of stuff. If you see these nightmare scenarios, that doesn't happen at a good store. That only happens at the Bandits. And the bad thing is, no, that's not the bad thing. The bad thing is that they pay people. They reward people to give them 5 stars. I would never do that. I want you to give me a good rating because I deserve a good rating, not because I offered to fill your vehicle with gas. If you're willing to lie about the lousy job a dealer did because he's willing to give you a $50 gift certificate, then shame on you. Because you're not doing any other of your fellow citizens any favors by telling them it was a great experience if it was horrible. Wouldn't you agree with that? So what I do is I go in here and I wanted to see how I compare. I asked ChatGPT, how do I compare? For all the Ford dealers from Chattanooga to Bristol, Tennessee. That's just the corridor that we kind of do business in. We sell cars all over the country, but most of them are sold in that area. And so it gave me a rating. Well, it showed me all the ratings that all these dealers have. Put it in an Excel spreadsheet. It's really cool. Told me what their public rating is, which would be Google rating, the Carfax rating, the Dealer Rater rating, and then ChatGPT gave a grade to each of these based on their scores, overall scores. You know what? They rated me second of all the Ford dealers from Chattanooga to Bristol. I was highly insulted. No, it really wasn't. I was quite honored by that. I want to see what this one guy's doing because his are better than mine are. But there's a bunch below me. It says that this one dealer says they have a very weak current public signal. So whatever they're doing is not working, not jiving with what the public wants. You can do this too. Just go to your AI bot that you use, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever they're called, all the different names, and just ask it to rate the Ford dealers or the Nissan dealers or the Toyota dealers within a certain geographic area. You don't have to do it yourself. Artificial intelligence will do it for you in a few seconds. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. When I looked at these ratings, there weren't any surprises to me. Really. I know who the dealers are that have the best reputation, because they're the ones that I have the best relationships with. You know, if I need something that a particular dealer has on his lot, I've got a customer for it, I just call them and say, listen, I got somebody wanting to buy a vehicle that you have. Will you let me have it? And they say, well, sure. Well, can you trade me? So we end up doing some kind of a dealer trade swap. And then he knows also that when he needs something, he knows who to call. He can call me. And we'll trade with him because we owe him. And that's the way good dealers work together. I've got a bunch of other dealers, and they're the ones down here low on the list that when you call them, you have to leave a message, and they will never call you back. And if they do answer the phone, they say, nah, we don't really want to let that go. And even if they have 20 of them in stock, because that's the culture, and that's who they are. So, you know, you can do this same kind of thing, and I'd recommend that you do it, that you find out how the dealer treats customers before you go shop at the dealership. You can search for a particular vehicle and then start finding out if the dealers with the highest ratings have those vehicles in stock. And if you go to that business and you get treated well, make sure that they know about it and give them 5 stars. I think what it does is it improves their business. I just think it's a good thing to do. I really do. I think if a business provides good service, then you recognize it. Just like when you go to a restaurant. If you have amazing service from the server that takes care of you, then give her a good tip, 25, 30%. We had this girl one time at Carrabba's, and it was my wife and 2 of our friends. We had a wonderful meal there, but this server was fantastic. She was going to school, and it was near Christmas time. And, well, it was November, and we were up there doing Christmas shopping, and we went to eat there. But she was just so friendly, and I mean just right there on the spot when you needed something, before you needed something. She was right there, just constantly checking on us, and not in a bad way, but just knew everything about the menu and just so friendly and bubbly and so forth. We gave her a 100% tip. I think it was like, for all of our meals, it was well over $100. It was like $120 or $130. And so my buddy and I split it. And we did not wait. We left before she ever saw it. We got up and left. And just imagined what her reaction was. Well, we went back about a year later. And we sat down, all same group of people, my wife and our 2 good friends. We sat down, and we heard this person yell out and come running over to the table. And it was her. And she gave us a big hug, and she was just so happy and thankful. That's what I think good service can do for them and for the customer. And I think it deserves to be recognized. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you need me, call me 423-552-2020, and I'll see you on the next edition of My Car Guru.